Case.
Hey, did we do a mic check? Are we okay?
Mic check. Hey, I'll tell you what. You haven't heard that sound in the studio for a while, have you?
Well, I haven't heard the rustling of paper as Robert tells us what the temperature is in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, or some.
Nope. I'm not telling you. You know what I'm upset about?
What are you upset about, Robert?
I'm upset that you, I, and Steve are not the KYOS representatives at the Winter Olympics.
You mean correspondents for KYOS?
Why are we not Why are we not on the plane going to the Winter Olympics?
I'll double check and see if that was in the budget this year.
I heard some of the hotels aren't even done there in Sochi.
That's what I heard.
Hey, folks, this is the
Welcome to Mother Russia.
This is the Tuesday, February 4th edition of Citizen Watch. Just 10 more days until Three Bachelors' favorite holiday.
There you go.
Valentine's Day. Maybe we'll get some of those candy
and
hearts.
For those of you that can tell that Casey's voice is a little bit different than it's been the last couple months.
He's out of the mobile. He's out of the mobile van.
He is in studio today.
I'm back here in the beautiful city of Merced, and I'm with my two best friends.
Yeah.
And I really
yelled at me last night.
I really do love you guys, and I'm glad to be back sitting
love
here.
You too, man.
In
Good
Palatial. Thank you. In Palatial Studio C, our cappuccino machine I see is still working. The Fresa con crema is flowing in the studio. Steve's
Where's
got
mine?
a big mouthful. Robert eats food like a snake, folks. I just want to let you know he doesn't even taste it on the way down. At some point about
Call my attorneys.
Midway through, I think he digests it. But, you know, it's like I say, our Tuesday edition here on KYOS 1480 AM, which is also how you find our shows on YouTube. You just go in the search bar and put in KYOS space 1480 AM. All of our shows are coming up on YouTube. Folks, we've got over 400 hits. I don't know. That was a few days ago. It might be more than that. We also have a tip line, and I encourage people, I'm going to give that number out a little bit more, 209 area code 406-8728. And you know, Robert, we have an email, and Robert's good at remembering that. It's Citizen Watch.
What?
Citizen Watch Merced
now you need me, huh?
Yahoo. Yeah, I need.
Now
Robert,
you need me after you were talking to me about looking like a snake, or
no,
eating
like a snake. You don't look like a snake. Robert's very dapper. He's very, very well dressed.
Okay, it's Citizen Watch Merced at yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. And we encourage people, if you want to leave an anonymous message, a text message, if you want to write in, we'd appreciate that. You know, folks, our words, they have breath, they have life. They're the life of the community, our thoughts. They burn in the minds of the citizens that we talk to every week, twice a week.
Here's something to burn.
Here on Citizen Watch. And I just want to thank...
Did you see this? Because I know you're going to go on this long discussion.
No. I'm going to be a little wordy, folks. I really love being here in studio with my three amigos, the three most eligible bachelors. Of course, we have Steve Colvard, just about done with his Fresa con crema on the engineer.
Did you go to sleep yet? I mean, you were up 36 hours last night when I talked to you, and you were like...
I think I got a total of 2 hours sleep, and I apologize if my thoughts aren't coherent. But folks, I really think what we do is very important here. What, Robert?
Dr. Strangelove is 50 years old. Did you see that in the paper?
His birthdays. No, I haven't. And now that's an old paper.
Hold on. This is not an old paper. This is Tuesday, February 4th, buddy.
Oh, okay. Well, you got two papers.
Of course. Yeah. See, there you are. You're like a little punch drunk.
I see what you did.
Anyways, three things, and then I'm done.
Okay.
Dr. Strangelove is 50. Isn't that great? It was a nice article in Perspective on the one side of the paper, and on A4 I thought was really kind of weird. It talks about funeral service companies are enticing customers at the mall. So I was like, wow, come and get your urns here. Yeah. And another thing is my brother Perry's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Perry. He's 51.
51. And Momo the 50. Roach, how he's doing?
Momo's doing good. You know, Momo sends me a message. Told the guys Momo's doing good. So, Momo... You hanging in there, buddy?
We're going to call Momo one of these days.
How's your dad?
We need a Momo in the show.
Is your dad in Vegas? I made the mistake of saying Chicago. I think he's out of Chicago now with the weather.
No, it's not the weather. He sold the family house, so our ties to Chicago have ended.
Have severed.
So he's going to buy himself a small little townhouse when he goes back to Chicago. And other than that...
You know better than that. The ties that you have in Chicago never end.
The
Well, that
times.
reminds me. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't.
Well, again, I want to thank our listeners for tuning in to AM
What is my... Wait,
1480.
I got a question real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you smell your
Some
microphone?
things never change whether I'm in studio or not.
Smell your microphone. Does it smell perfumey?
Yeah, well,
Mine's got perfume all over it, and it's kind of weird. Freaking me out.
Smelcome to manhood, I guess.
Lysol.
Yeah, we.
Is it Lysol?
After some of our guests, folks, believe me, we have to take care of this studio, or else it could
Okay,
be a
Casey,
biohazard.
go.
Hey, listen, I want to thank some of our listeners. I've got some letters from Miss Betty DeWitt. I really appreciate you sending those letters in. Your penmanship is impeccable, something they don't teach in school anymore.
She wanted
with all
date.
of these glass learning environments. But again, I'll respond to your letter. And again, if anybody wants to write in, you can write into P.O. Box 2573, Merced, California 95344, as it's a P.O. box, or you can send things here to the station, 1020 West Main, Merced, California 95340. I'd also like to give a shout out to some of our listeners, our fans out there at USP Atwater, the United States Prison. We get a lot of mail from those folks. I know you're listening.
Got nothing better to do.
I think, yeah, it's a captive audience. Hey, Robert. So again, if you guys want to send a message to local government, maybe you can flush your toilets all at the same time. Send something down the line when you hear Robert say, "Good night, Mrs. Calabash," wherever you are. That could be your little hey now, little shout out. I don't know of another way other than sending in those letters that are heavily redacted and checked for contraband. So don't send us anything we don't need here. But I was at the city council meeting. I came back. I was gone for about 6 weeks, folks. As you know, I've been calling in twice a week, and I've been reading with the internet the goings on here in Merced. Of course, my co-hosts here keep me informed, other people in the community, and again, 209-406-8728, any tips you might have. And I read a few weeks ago, and we talked about the supervisors getting a raise, and they got a raise with the judges first of the year to be comparable with the Merced County Superior Court judicial system, and they kind of hid behind the robes, as I said, about that raise, and gave themselves as retroactive to July of last year. And, we talked about it a little bit, and then we had an article come out about District 4 Supervisor Deidre Kelsey and some of the shenanigans going on over there at the public defender's office with Mr. Dumars and her daughter. There was accusations of favoritism, retaliation, nepotism, a potential tryst that could never really be ferreted out.
Tryst?
134-page report that you and I as taxpayers paid for to get somebody independent from another county to evaluate it, found that the complaints were true. Found that it was valid and justified. And, Deidre, the Kelsey, Supervisor Kelsey, she said, well, we have to rely on these complaints by those that are not sworn to tell the truth. And, folks, that's going to be a theme throughout this show today is oaths, taking oath, swearing, pledging, the public trust, the responsibility that we place in those that carry a badge, that make the laws of our land, that enforce those laws, that make policy, that set policy. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So anyway, I read that story about Supervisor Kelsey and her daughter and the public defender trying to kill himself and the employees and their intimidation. And of course, I look at things from a financial standpoint sometimes. I look at things about what's the exposure to the taxpayer? Because really, we're talking about the public good, the public trust. And, here at Citizen Watch, that's what we do. We're citizens that watch government. And we give our opinions. We can't help it. It's something that we're human. And we try to be fair. And we try to give all facets, all sides of a story. So I read about the public defender's office and some of the things going on, and Supervisor Kelsey being upset. She said it was a failure of the county administrative leadership by the chief executive officer, Mr. Brown, by the chief county counsel, James Fincher. And I said at the time, well, Ms. Kelsey, look in the mirror, because you are the administrative county leadership. If you look at the flow chart, it's kind of simple. It's like a pyramid, folks. The voters are on top still.
Can you say that one more time, Casey?
The voters are on top.
Let me say that one more time. The voters are on top. They work for us.
That's right. And so then that comes down as
They don't act it.
the board of supervisors, and then the CEO, and then the county council. So if they're a failure, Miss Kelsey, well, I say you are. Anyway, then I read this weekend, Saturday's Sun Star. There was an article in the Sun Star, and it said, supervisor steps in to assist his aide, stopped by the police. This was the Merced Police Department. And something happened inside me. I felt an overwhelming need to come back to this beautiful community of Merced and ferret this story out, to vet it, to make sure that what I was reading, that what was printed in the Merced Sun Star last Saturday, February 1st, could it possibly be true? It must be false, because, folks, we get a lot of criticism about making misstatements, maybe making not accuracies. And just last Tuesday on this show, I gave high praise to the supervisor that was named in this story for his community meetings. We all hear about his town halls. He's one of the few supervisors that do it. I was very, very complimentary over him doing this. I thought the other supervisors should do the same thing. And, you know, maybe I was wrong, because I see a lapse of judgment that really makes me wonder what they were thinking. And when I say they, I don't include just this supervisor. I include Deidre Kelsey, because, again, these articles came up and there was concerns, Deidre Kelsey, about the raise. She said, we don't deserve it. You know, the Board of Madera, the Board of Supervisors, gave that raise back. So to say that you had to take it, well, that's just plain wrong. And she said, we don't deserve it. And you know what? There's a process if the voters don't like it. You know what that process is? An election every 4 years. I thought that was an arrogant statement. And Marie Antoinette during the French Revolution had a little more compassion than that, when she told the subjects who were starving to death, if they don't like it, let them eat cake. So if you don't like it, according to District 4 Supervisor Deidre Kelsey, the voters have an option. Every 4 years, we can crawl to the polls, the 25% that decide that it's going to make a difference. And let me tell you, folks, I don't think it's making a difference. So anyway, I was upset by that story, and I got in my car, and I was I-40 west for 1,100 and some odd miles, and then north for about 400, and here I am. So again, I might sound a little punch drunk. I know I'm not letting my partners talk too much. I know we play a disclaimer
You know
at
what
the
I see?
start of the show.
What I see in you more than anything, Case, as a friend, is your disappointment.
I'm hurt,
you,
folks.
Yeah, you seem crestfallen. Like this shouldn't happen in this country that we live in.
It shouldn't happen in this county that we live in. You know, I can't. You know, they say all politics is local. You know, I can't control national news. I can't control Benghazi. I can't control the atrocities happening in Afghanistan, in Kandahar, where our hard-fought soldiers' lives are being now sacrificed for what? We have militants on top of our equipment out there. What did we fight for? But I can do something, I think we all can, here in this community, here in Merced. Yep. And that's why I love this county. You'll never find three people that love this county any more than Steve Colvard, Robert Tomasetti, and myself. Now, I know there's others out there that listen to our voices that love it just as equally.
Yeah. I agree 100%, Case. And I think, I sense your frustration in this particular case, but my overall frustration is, and I think on this next segment after we do our first commercial break, you'll be able to break it down a little bit about what happened in that supervisor situation with his assistant. But the part of this country that breaks my heart is that, you were mentioning earlier about our choice as a voter. And in order to have a choice, you have to have more than one candidate run.
That's right.
And what we've gotten into this county, in my opinion, is this network of incumbents that are so entrenched, it's going to be extremely hard to remove them. But the first step from removing them is having an opponent run against them. But we have a paradigm in this county, and I think it's probably endemic across the state and the federal government, where is if you think you're a big enough boy or girl to get in this game and challenge me, me as the incumbent, and you fail, you will pay. Well, and that, to me, is one of the most un-American traits there is. So I know there's people out there that know that they can do a better job than these incumbents that have been sitting in these seats uncontested for multiple years.
That's right.
And they're afraid to try it because they have to make a living here.
That's right.
And those guys have worked themselves into a position where they control the federal and state purse strings.
Exactly
so if
right.
you're doing business in this county, you really have to think twice before you speak up, because there will be retribution. There will be revenge. Very similar to what Christie did by closing down that bridge. It's the same thing,
right.
folks. It happens in our county every single day. And there's people that we know who are doing it. So if there's anything that you can take from this show and the listeners of this show, because we're not speaking to everybody on this show. A lot of people listen, but the people we're speaking to are the little guys. The guys that have been stomped on and pushed down, and their talents have not been allowed to rise to the top because they don't blow the right, you know what, and play the game like they're supposed to. So they're penalized. They can be very good at what they do, but unless they pay homage to the kings, you go nowhere in this county. And that has to be broken, folks.
Really
and that's what we're trying to do here. It's a huge hill to climb, and I'm not so sure that we can climb it. But I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be proud to have been part of the attempt to climb it if it doesn't work. But when we have an incumbent running, someone please have the courage to run against them. Now, I know that's easier said than done. You have families to support. You have kids to support. And you know that if you throw your hat in the ring, even if you know you can do a better job than they can, and you don't win,
right.
they will retaliate against you. And we have been playing scared here for generations.
We've seen that.
Time for it to stop, people. And you know who we're talking to. We're not talking, like I said, a lot of people listen to this show.
That's right.
But not a lot of people hear us. And my thing is when we've got 12, 14, 20% turnouts for elections,
right.
if we can get you silent majorities out there to the polls, the 40, 50, 60%, we can take this back.
I think there's still
but
hope, Steve.
There has to be an alternative offer to the listener, and we're not there yet.
No, we're not completely there. Folks, we're coming up to our first break. Please join us after the break on Citizen Watch. Steve Colvard, Robert the Velvet Sledgehammer, Tomasetti. I'm Casey Steed, 1480 AM. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, folks, to Citizen Watch. It's our second segment here from Studio C. We're all live. I love being in studio with these guys. It makes it so much easier to interact, to communicate, where you can get a little visual reference. Even though you can't see us, we can see you. I may not know the definition of success, but I know the definition of failure is trying to please everyone. You can't please everyone, folks. We try to be fair here on Citizen Watch. It's not about a D or an R or an I or another outside of your name. It's not whether you're gender confused or you know what your gender is. Preference, rather. We're about everybody. We are inclusive of everybody, and everybody at the sound of my voice. If you disagree with us, if you have a difference of opinion, come on in. Right. We welcome you. We had some issues with the school district. We had some folks say, hey, can we come in? I wanted them in before they could come in. Hey, we're still on vacation. The next available slot, we got them in.
And I'm going to go back to a little bit of that rant I had before the commercial break. I've had people express an interest of coming on this show or other shows and expressing their point of view, but they are petrified about the retaliation that would come their way.
We won't have any retaliation here at Citizen Watch. We treat everybody fairly. I can understand the reluctance because I've heard the same thing when I ran for office that, we support your case, but we can't. You can't put that sign in front of my business because, after you lose, which, let's be realistic, after you lose, we still have to do business here in this town.
Didn't we have a bet, you and I?
Oh, Robert, you won, and you told me. And, sometimes, like I say, you have to try. The noblest cause, my friends, is the public good, and evil flourishes when good men say nothing. And this is what we're talking about again. The theme is oaths. The theme is what you swear to do. The theme is the public trust that we entrust in our elected leaders, and the violation of that trust, or the perceived violation of that trust, the sense of entitlement, the sense of hypocrisy, the sense that you are privileged, that you don't have to follow the rules that the others do here in this community that you represent, that those that are under your wing or that are your assistant are somehow better than everybody else, and that the people that are entitled are entrusted with that public trust, that take that oath, that swear to uphold the law, that you should somehow influence them, is what we're talking about today. Now, I went to the city council meeting last night, and Robert was actually there with me. It was kind of funny. They have the public comment section, and it was one of those deals where I wanted to talk about what I saw. Are we okay?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about what I saw when I came back to Merced. Like I said, I've been gone about 6 weeks, and I drove over to my favorite place, the UP Estates by Bear Creek, and lo and behold, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's been cleaned up. It's been abated. I've again watched the council meetings on the TV, and I know that we had some folks in the community, homeless folks, that were speaking before the council and were upset that the timing of the abatement, not only at the UP Estates folks, but a lot of other places along Bear Creek. They've had the CDF boys over there, California Division of Forestry, cleaning up a lot of the bushes and brushes. Unfortunately, there's no water, but that'll be another show.
Looks awesome, though.
Yeah, it does. And anyway, I was just so pleased to see that taken care of. And then I go down the stroll that I fondly call the stroll there on 16th Street at the north end of town.
The red light district.
Red
He was
light
looking for a
district.
date.
It didn't look like New York on Super Bowl weekend, folks. They had, they've got it down to a manageable number. Now I know you're not going to get rid of everything, and I don't expect miracles, but at least it didn't look like the Mardi Gras over there. So I was very pleased, and I went over to the council meeting to give some accolades to Chief Andrade, and the first two speakers ahead of me, three were actually all just railing on the chief and the police. How can you guys?
One guy
do
was
that?
funny.
What guy?
About the homeless?
No.
Well,
First of all,
homeless and the enforcement of downtown.
excuse me. Yeah, first of all, what he did is Casey gets up there, and Casey wasn't first, but I'm like, who are they let these kooks talk?
Well, it's
these
public
guys are going on
comment section,
about.
folks.
There was a couple public comment section, and some people were upset at the police. Okay, and I don't know, but one guy I think was sitting on my corner when he saw the police roll through the stop sign, and he followed the guy, and when he called in, he didn't get anywhere, just like I didn't.
Well, this guy he identified himself as General Alissimo.
No. This was the guy that looked like Josh Pedroso. He was a teacher, remember?
Oh, yes.
And he got up and he started talking about tyranny.
Tyranny.
And I thought he was like Benjamin Franklin all over again.
And again, folks,
Because of the
Thanks
police
for talking
department?
over me, Casey.
Because of the police department?
yeah, he felt they were.
He was talking about how the police department was disrespectful when he tried to get something accomplished. Then what he did is he went in on the homeless people, about how some of the questions or some of the complaints from the homeless people is how they got shaken out of their tents. Then they had another guy who was Generalissimo. He was the guy.
He looked like Che Guevara.
He was part of the
He
Brown
looked like
Belt
the
Derby or something.
Guardian Transients or
What
one of
was
these
his
groups.
complaint?
His complaint was how the police department was shagging the homeless people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the homeless queen, Monica Villa, she got up and did her little rant. And
But it was funny. This guy Che Guevara, I call him Generalissimo Guevara. What was it? Was like the Guardian bums or something. I don't
why
know
don't you
what
say
group
Mussolini? Because I think if you say Che
Guardian
Guevara,
Angels? Like
He
the
looked like that.
the
He
red
had
berets?
Yeah, but they had brown.
Had all
Okay.
that. He had the bloused pants. The
wow.
military. The
that
military surplus boots.
You're in Merced?
Yeah. He
I didn't
gets
know
up
that.
there and he starts talking to Norm, or Chief Andrade, excuse me, tries to say, you better keep those cameras on.
Yeah, that was weird.
You better watch out.
Protection.
We're going to be watching you. This intimidation. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, wait a minute. Only the Board of Supervisors could do that to our Chief of Police. Some citizen sats up there and says that. How dare he? That was a joke, guys. God, you guys don't even get it, do you?
I'm being very soft today on this whole.
I mean, he sits up there and threatens Norm,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, anyways,
you got to call late at night for that. Anyway, this guy was a joke. So I stood up and I said, I want to commend our Chief of Police, Norm Andrade, for cleaning up downtown, for cleaning up the city, because this is a step to economic development. What did we hear last week on our show, Thursday?
Larry Morris.
Great
Yeah.
Larry
Well,
Morris. Great guest. What did he say? This is about economic development, folks.
Exactly,
If
it
people
is.
are scared, if we're the 88th
But
worst place to live.
But here's my complaint. Casey and I went yesterday to talk. We sat at Starbucks. There wasn't a transient sitting there reading the Bible.
And what happened?
What?
Those people, tell them about the people.
What people?
Oh, God.
Oh, the people. This couple came by. It was really funny. Wait, I got to tell you more to that story. I saw them later.
Well?
So anyways, this couple comes by and they go, excuse us. It was really nice. And they said, excuse us. And there was no transients with dogs, and all this bleeding heart stuff. And we said, yes. And they said, where's a good place to eat for a restaurant? I said, are you guys from here? And the guy goes, well, I'm Italian. I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, well, you might want to try. And I was just thinking upscale, nice. You got the park setting. You got 510 Bistro, right?
I said Renero's.
So he goes, you're Italian, go to Renero's. They did. So I go to the bank later that afternoon, and I'm walking past, and I look in the window right there is the couple. And they wave at me, and I wave back, and I go, run in, and Phil's there, and we chat for a minute, and I go, she says, give him a free bowl of soup or food because he brought us here.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you wanted Italian food? And
sure.
I thought
was that couple
folks?
from out of the area?
Yeah, they were from out of the area. They were just, doe-eyed. They walk up to Robert and I. We didn't ask them for money. And they said, hey, where's a good place to eat? We're looking for a place to eat around here. Robert said 510. I said Renero's.
They came in and asked, where's John Pedroso's office? And we said 3 blocks to the left.
Yeah, just look for the black hat.
And
anyway,
there was no homeless people around?
It was nice.
You were proud. You were proud.
I was proud.
Casey looks around and he goes, man, he goes, I leave for 6 weeks and I come back and I don't even Casey and his record. I don't even recognize my town.
Well, what a compliment. That's cool. That's cool to hear. We're moving in the right direction.
But here's my problem with all of this. Okay, when we started the rant, we heard nothing but Stonewall tactic after Stonewall tactic after Bleeding Heart tactic. I don't know who got the stones, who got the courage to carry this through, but I'm going to tell you, it looks different, it feels different,
yes,
and it didn't cost any more money.
Amen.
And the individual responsible, or the individuals, plural, responsible for this, thank you. That you don't want to take credit, I bless you for that.
And that's even funnier.
The bottom line is you accomplished something that was a benefit to our community. You don't want to take credit for it. I respect that.
Right.
But whoever's responsible for this, from my heart, thank you.
Yeah,
well, here's who was. The landowner who was over there and UP Estates, he comes to me one day and he says, hey, who do I get from the city to take care of this situation? So I said, contact Frank Quintero. I said, I don't know who you need to talk to, but Frank will lead you in the right direction. Next thing we know, it's all taken care of. So I go up to the city council meeting. I see Frank, and I said, hey, Frank. I said, hey, thanks a lot for helping my friend with his property. And he goes, I had nothing to do with that. He goes, it's this man here. And he introduced me, and I don't remember the man's name because it was quick, but he was the public works for the city.
Gonzalez?
No. And he looked at me and he says, I was just doing my job.
Oh, the big guy.
Yeah. And I said, no, sir, you don't understand. We've been asking over for everybody as to who is responsible for this because we want to give them kudos. And the guy wouldn't give me his name. He said, I was just following orders.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that could have said, hey, it was me.
However it gets accomplished, it gets accomplished.
Selfless servants. Again, I came back, it's kind of like boiling a frog. You just turn it up slowly. They never jump out of the pot. I came back, the cold water of reality. It was like, this is refreshing. I can't believe it. Our city, it's starting to return. It's not there yet, folks. Now, let me not kid anybody.
Casey.
But it's going the right direction.
Casey.
The creek bank looks like a creek bank. It doesn't look like the grapes of wrath out of the 30s.
Casey.
There's not people defecating into Bear Creek.
Casey.
It looks like a city again.
But what happened is on the hand up, I gave him the card to your house because I know you have 3 acres over there. Did you see anybody in
Robert,
your pasture?
Have you been home yet?
Yeah. No, the horse is still there, thank God. I have old Aztec still out there.
Casey's like every day.
But in all seriousness, Casey.
But anyway, I was happy. I was ecstatic. I went there. Poor Norm was getting beat up right and left. The first 3 people coming up were upset.
Big shoulders.
I told him, I said, to all the homeless hand wringers that whine out there, that say, we can't find the homeless anymore. That's the point, folks. That's the whole point. And I give Norm Andrade and all of the members of the Merced Police Department kudos, accolades, stars, whatever you want, because let me tell you, that's what we want. We want to have a city. You want to bring somebody here? We want people that are going to bring jobs, that are going to bring industry. I watched John Carlisle get up there before the city council twice while I was away. Now, he's a big homeless advocate. He's also a former city councilman. It makes me sick. I want to vomit in my Stouffer's lean cuisine. Let me tell you, this guy gets up there and he starts talking about, we need more HUD money. We need HUD money. We need to be able to count everybody so we get that HUD money. Let me tell you something. We don't need more EBT money. We need more JOB money. And Mr. Carlisle, for those that don't remember, let me remind you, he was the lone, the one and only, no vote. No, denied on the Walmart distribution center.
Rebuffed.
1,500 jobs, folks, were lost. 1,500. If you don't have a united front to get these businesses in here, if we're not all rowing the boat on the same direction, let me tell you something. These big corporations, before they invest hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of their lifetime, before the largest successful retailer in the world comes in, they want to see a united front. And so Carlisle sits up there, wringing his hands. We can't find them all. That's the point. That's the point, John. We need some industry in here. And so that was a step in the right direction for economic development. The other thing, after I was done commenting on that, I also wanted to commend Chief Andrade and his Sergeant Jay Struble, who I believe runs the traffic division over there, for standing up to their oath of office, for keeping their pledge to the citizens of Merced and to the badge that they hold. Because as folks read in the paper, the February 1st edition of the Sun Star, we had a temporary help employee. Now, what I find interesting about this, extra help, Deidre Kelsey's daughter, that was her title over there at the public defender's office when all that shenanigans, all that hanky-panky was going on.
And that's an example of nepotism and cronyism that we are railing against here.
Just a good old boy, not meaning no harm. You know, we talk about the good old boy system, folks. Oh, it's alive and well. Alive and well. And it's the good old boy and the good old daughter. Because as we heard from the supervisor, District 1 supervisor, she's just like a daughter to me. Well, your daughter, John, was out driving on a suspended license. Been working for the county since 2010. Folks, it's hard to go through the Sunstar article. I had to draw a little timeline here. But the bottom line is she started out 2010 working for the county. Now, you'll never guess what department she started in, Steve.
You told me the public defender's office.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on over there at that public defender's office. I don't know why.
Guy, boy, I tell you what, he swings a lot of influence.
You know, he swings a lot of.
Well, this is quite a complicated story, but Casey will do a great job of weaving it all together.
Right.
Let's take a commercial break. We'll finish the show up with this story. Get yourself a cup of coffee or a cold soda, whatever. Right. This is a story that you're going to want to hear.
Something from Piccolo Farms. You know, get out that fruit basket. One of our other great shows. We'll be right back, folks. Folks, welcome back to the third and final segment. I'm sure people probably wish it was the final edition of Citizen Watch, but no, it's the third and final segment. This 45-minute flies. You know, what we don't finish here tonight, we'll talk about on Thursday. Again, we welcome you back to KYOS AM 1480. Steve Colvard, best engineer in the business, had some Fresa con crema. I think he's feeling happy. Robert the Velvet, Sledgehammer Tomasetti, looking dapper than ever.
Happy birthday, Alice Cooper, 66.
Right. I love Alice Cooper. And I'm Casey Steed here in studio with you. I came back to town, folks, because I felt there was some important information to vet out. I've done a little vetting. I've got a stack of documents. I'll tell you, I'm still going through them. I'm probably not going to get through them all today, but I will report back to this audience. Again, if anybody has anything, 209-406 8728. You can always send a letter here to the studio, glue together some magazine words. I don't know, use some glue, piece of paper, anything.
1020 West note.
1020 West Main. Help me. I work at the county. 1020 West Main, Merced,
Public
California.
Office.
Yeah, no, I tell you, there. Anyway, so this gal, her name, I should really be a little more professional. Here, folks, as I drop my notes. Her name is Mrs. Valenzuela-Porras, or is it Porras Valenzuela? I'm not sure how you say those names.
It's Porras.
I'm sorry, Porras. I was reading it phonetically. Anyway, it's one of those deals. She started at the county defender's office, county public defender, on 2010. In 2010, she had a suspended license back then. Okay, but you don't need a license when you're doing the county defender, as long as you don't drive the county ride, the company truck, as I call it, or you don't use your personal vehicle for business. In other words, if you're going to say a community meeting, or you're running ice out to McNamara Park when they're opening the pool, let's say, if say your boss is barbecuing bratwurst or hot dogs and weenies, and you got to run some ice out there last summer. Hint, hint. Anyway, that's the only time you have to have a valid license. And of course, to have a valid license, as I think the three of us in this room know, you have to have insurance. If you don't have those things, you don't get one or the other. So anyway, if you use your personal vehicle, the county requires that you have insurance. And again, folks, it's because of liability. The deep pocket. The county has the deepest pockets here in this county because they have the public money. And so people are always gunning for the public money. If they can sue the county, it's kind of of a, what they consider an easy pushover. So the county tries to indemnify themselves by having their folks have a license. Now, this is in the county employee manual. Now, these extra help employees are kind of a unique animal, because I went in and I said, hey, so there must be 5 extra help positions, right? There's 5 supervisors. Well, no, only Deidre Kelsey, coincidentally enough, and Supervisor John Pedroso have these extra help positions. They're paid for out of their discretionary fund, that political slush money they get every year to throw around the community. Well, I guess if they can't open their mail, or they can't schedule a calendar, they can't use their smartphone, they can hire an assistant to schedule these things for them. Like I say, bring ice out to the weenie roast at McNamara Park. So the Porras Valenzuela-Porras, Miss Porras, excuse me. She started working for John approximately January of 2011. Moved from the PD's office and went over to work for John.
Wait, PD?
Public defender.
Oh, Eric's office?
Mr. Dumar's on. I don't know if she worked under Eric. I don't quite know the timeline there. But again, license suspended. So now she comes over and works for our supervisor. So I asked, well, how does that work? Is it advertised on the computer? You go on merced.org and you say, hey, I want a job. Do they go out to the university or find 10th University of California, talk to the government students and say, hey, anybody want to help a supervisor, like an intern or something like that? And it's like, well, no. It really couldn't give me the answer. I spent a lot of time up there on the 3rd floor the other day, tried to find a copy of the oath that our supervisors take, and nobody had one. It hasn't been seen in a while. Can't find it. Anyway, I asked how they advertise for these jobs. And they said, well, you need to go see Human Resources. Which Human Resources? You need to go see the supervisors. I just came from there. You need to go see Mike North, the legislative analyst. Okay, I'll go to Mike's North office. Still haven't got a call, Mike. I know you're busy. Beautiful office, by the way.
I know Mike.
Yeah.
He used to be at the Sun Star.
Used to be a reporter. Said it's kind of funny. I said, do you have my number? He goes, I lost a lot of friends.
Mike will be in here tomorrow for community conversations.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. He said he lost a lot of numbers when he moved over there to the county. They probably put his phone on a magnetic disc or something and erased it. So anyway, I said, Mike, how do these extra help folks find a job? I mean, my gosh, it's like a daughter to me to help a mother of 2, single mother of 2. And he goes, well, I don't know, Casey. He goes, quite frankly, the supervisors have somebody in mind and they bring them on, and it's kind of like bing bang boom. So it's not really a competitive bid situation. So this, to me, folks, again, places more of an emphasis on those that are doing the hiring. It's one thing if you have a little layer of protection and say, well, HR down the hall, they hired them. I didn't fill out the application. I didn't look. I just got this person in a pool. But no, it's a little more intimate than that. You are the one that makes the decision, Supervisor Pedroso, over who you hire. Now, I know your last assistant, he left for some reason, maybe we can find out about, but I know this one you hired. It was completely up to you. There was no vetting process, but you're still responsible as any employee of the county that drives the company ride, that brings out the ice to the weenie roast, to make sure that employee is qualified. Now, in your mind, for her ability to run a letter opener or schedule a day planner, that's one thing. But when you send her out in the company ride, you have a responsibility. You have an oath. You have a promise. You have a trust. So anyway, everything was going along fine for about 14 months, and then March of 2012, Ms. Porras, Valenzuela-Porras, got a DUI, 23-152 the vehicle code. She was driving 80 miles an hour over there on Bear Creek. Had a suspended license at the time, obviously didn't learn. Driving deuce, reckless driving, 0.11 blood alcohol content. That's what she blew. Anyway, they took her over to the Rock, booked her in, let her go. After she paid her money, and so everything's cool. So then she goes to trial. The judge sentenced her to a couple of days in jail, $3,000 fine. This was in January of 2013. Now, folks, this is, we've heard some ignorance, some, gee, I didn't know. Gosh, nobody told me. I'm just trying to keep a mom of 2 employed. I didn't know. I didn't know. But Miss Porras had a responsibility, and this goes into people's integrity, into their trust. And she, per the county manual, had to let her employer know of any change in her driving status. because that affected, I think it was a week, is what the county manual said. So anyway, Ms. Porras didn't do that. So now we fast forward from March of 2012. We go to January. She goes to court. They give her the bad news, $3,000 in fines. You got to go spend 2 days over with Mr. Payson at the Rock, and you'll be on your way to redemption and salvation. Well, February 13th, a month later, no show. Here comes the warrant, bench warrant. Where are you, Ms. Porras? Next time we see you, okay, you got.
All they had to do is walk across the street.
Yeah, you got to kind of. Well, actually, February 13th, she was a no-show to jail. A month
11th.
after that,
Yeah.
month after that, they issued the bench warrant. Okay, well, here she is riding around, May 18th of 2013, which was the genesis of this Sunstar article and the genesis of Mr. Supervisor Pedroso's involvement in this case, May 18th. Now, supposedly, he didn't have any knowledge until May 18th. Been working for Mr. Pedroso since January of 2011. Now, here we are 2 years later and some change, okay? Okay, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't know. Mrs. Porras, she has no morals, obviously. She doesn't know how to drive. She's felony stupid. Okay?
Doesn't know how to read.
And obviously doesn't know how to read a conditional license, because when you get a deuce, let me tell you what they do. They take all your stuff, and they give you this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with 1 billion words on it, and that's your provisional, what they call a provisional license, until you take care of things with the court. It's inherent upon you to do that PDQ pretty damn quick. You put your thumbprint on it so they know you got it. So you can't plead ignorance. I didn't know.
Don't I say that all the time, though?
No, you can't plead ignorance. So let me work through this, folks. I'm sure we're going to get into Thursday, and it's got to be riveting to those listening right now. So anyway, May 18, 2013 comes along. I don't know what time of the day. She's, clocked down the road. The officer, he recognizes her because, again, this chick's had her license suspended 8 times. This particular officer, Sergeant Struble, has impounded her car before. He goes, hey, I know that car. Pulls her over again, speeding, warrants, no registration, rah, rah, rah. Folks, they don't have room at the inn. We've talked about AB 109. There's no room to put these nudniks, and there's a lot of them out there. John's not the only one that hires the stupid ones. Okay, so all they could do was give her a traffic citation. Well, as they're doing that, she's crying, I don't know why they're pulling me over. And so she gets on the phone, bing, bong, bing, calls old Johnny, my boss. Now she wants to talk to her boss. They're gonna take my ride. They're gonna take my whoopty. I need to talk to you, John. Would you talk to the 5-0? What's going on? What's going on here, officer? The officer rightly said, look, she's an adult, not a very good adult. She's not very smart. She's pretty dumb. Felony stupid, driving I don't know how many times at this point. I've lost track, folks. But anyway, hands the phone to Struble. Struble said, I can't tell you anything. She's an adult. It's kind of called, over 18. I know she's like a daughter to you, John, but someday you got to cut the apron strings. Someday you got to let them push them out of the nest. Let them fly on their own, Johnny. Anyway, so that didn't work. So John says, fine. I'll call Chief Andrade. I'll call your boss. And folks, this is where the oath comes in. This is where the honor of the badge comes in. Now, I don't know what Supervisor Pedroso's intent was to say that, but boy, it sure smells. They talk about a stink out there in District 1. It ain't the dairies.
It's the dead bodies.
It's not. It's not the manure pit next to our dairies. No, there's a stink out there coming from District 1, all right, and it starts over there at 2222 M Street on the 3rd floor. So anyway, John didn't get any satisfaction to that. He calls Norm Andrade, Chief Norm Andrade, at home. Calls him at home on a weekend after hours and says, hey, what's going on? Chief Andrade says, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. She's an adult. It's public information. It's not like she was driving the county ride. Thank God, folks. Thank God she didn't kill somebody in the county ride, or you and me would be talking about a lot of money right now. Again, I talk about money, folks. So anyway, Norm rightfully said, and this is why I stood up at the council meeting on Monday night, which if folks want to watch that on YouTube, our city has a YouTube channel, and you can catch that right up front and see what I said. Anyway, so we go on now, the timeline. Now we get into June. It's time to go to court. Got pulled over, no car, no license, no blah, blah, blah. He knows now. Writes a letter on company letterhead. County of Merced. I need this person. I need Miss Porras. I need Miss Valenzuela-Porras. I need her because she drives all the time. She brings out the ice to the weenie roast at McNamara Park when I forget napkins at a barbecue. When I'm having a council meeting, like, because I don't understand Spanish, so she goes to Livingston. All of these unincorporated areas that he represents. So she writes a letter saying, please, Judge, give her a break. Now, she's already had a few already, but okay, give her a break. So Judge Ash commutes her sentence to community service. Don't worry about the money to the county coffers. Don't worry about your responsibility. Don't worry about that $3,000. Hell, don't even worry about going to jail, because you never went to jail and did your 2 days, Ms. Porras. So, okay, now we fast forward to October 11. Now, here she, in July of 2013, she gets a break from the judge. Now, I don't know, maybe you and I...
What a tremendous break that was.
Maybe you and I would feel a little more welcome about that, but she doesn't. Another warrant is issued. Warrant of failure to showing your community service. She can't even do community service, guys. I mean, she got a break on the 3 large that didn't go to the county coffers. Not that our boys over there, the court system's underfunded. No, she gets community service. Go put a little time over there at Yosemite Church. Out of 195 hours, she turns in a pathetic 14 hours. Okay, so the judge had it. Time for another warrant. Time for another suspension. Ms. Porras, you have a court date later this month. I suggest strongly that you attend. And folks, we're running out of time. We're at the end of Citizen Watch for the Tuesday night show. We're going to say a couple of goodbyes. Robert had something he wanted to say, but I encourage folks to tune back in on Thursday for the Thursday edition of Citizen Watch with Steve Colvard, Casey Steed, and Robert the Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti. I'm sorry I've dominated this show, folks.
Yeah, Roger, Robert, you coming back on Thursday?
Oh, I fell asleep. I'm sorry. Of course, because I have my spin on this.
All right.
And you know what, Casey's right and correct on a lot of things. And just real quickly, what I'd like to talk about on Thursday and let people know is how Miss Valenzuela-Porras put her boss, Mr. Pedroso, in a bad situation.
Who we consider a friend, folks.
Can I ask you guys a real quick question? I don't know if you know this yet. Is she still employed by him?
Yes.
As of this day,
yes.
As of the council, the supervisors
yes.
meeting I went to and spoke to this morning, yes. Unbelievably, yes, felony stupid. A lot of, I don't know what's in the air over there. I expect the oxygen mask to drop out of the ceiling on the third floor, because you've never taken a faster trip elevation ride from the first to the third up there. They're at 50,000 feet, folks. They are so far out of touch. They are so far out of touch with the voters, with the constituents of this county, and obviously with the people that take an oath. To the officers, to the fine officers patrolling the street right now, listening to me in your patrol car, thank you for holding that oath. If other people break it and treat it like a list of suggestions, I appreciate you honoring your oath to office. And Robert, what do we say?
Stop rolling past my stop sign. Good night, Mrs. I'm sorry, I had to laugh. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Flush those toilets, folks.
We'll see you on Thursday.